All right, hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about rigor mortis and just kind of also take a look at how we can estimate the PMI, that post-mortem interval, or the time since death using PMI. So, or I should say, we should estimate PMI using rigor mortis. So remember, rigor mortis is muscle stiffening and relaxing after death. And kind of what happens is without oxygen, calcium ions, Ca2 plus, will build up in the muscles. Now, those of you that have taken anatomy and physiology hopefully kind of know that calcium ions play an important role in causing muscle contraction and relaxation. So when calcium builds up, muscles become stiff. They essentially contract. And the way this process works in rigor mortis is it's going to start in the smaller muscles, typically the head, the face muscles, and our arms first, and then works its way into the larger muscles with the legs last. And then kind of in that process, same thing, or I really should say, as this process occurs, the muscles stiffen in that order: head, face, arms, chest, to the legs, and then they're going to relax kind of in that opposite order. And we know from our notes the timeline in which that happens, kind of starting about 2 hours after death is when rigor mortis first happens, kind of again, face, arms. After about 12 hours, the body is most rigid. And then starting about 15 or 16 hours after death, it starts to relax. The face and the arm muscles relax first. And finally, by about 32 to 36 hours after death, our larger muscles, the thigh muscles in particular, will be relaxed. And, rigor mortis is typically only useful if we're talking 2 to 36 hours after death for that PMI estimate. And kind of outside of that window, we have to rely on the state of decay. So on the next slide here, we're going to see kind of, again, what the body looks like at peak rigor mortis. And every single muscle is contracted. And we also are aware of some factors that might affect this. That if we're cold, it's going to slow it down, so it takes longer. If it's at a warm temperature, it's going to speed up the process. As far as activity goes, if someone was exercising, it's going to speed up the process. Sleeping, slow it down. And then body mass can also play a role. If someone's obese, it's going to slow down the process. If someone is on the thin or frail side, the process is sped up. So let's keep all of this in mind as we try some of our time of death using rigor mortis activity together. So as I go through this, number one, a body was found with evidence of rigor. So as I look at that, that tells me it either hasn't happened or the body's already gone through it. And we don't know what the case is. We're just told there's no rigor. So we know that we could be looking at less than 2 hours as far as our PMI estimate. Or it could be, well, color changed on me, I'll just go with it, greater than 36 hours since time of death. Again, without more information, we're not told anything about the state of decay, the temperature the body was found in, or activity, or size, or body mass. So we just know with no rigor, it's either too soon for rigor to happen, so less than 2 hours, or the process has happened and we have that PMI of greater than 36. All right, number two, a body was found exhibiting rigor throughout the entire body. Okay, so that tells us we're at peak rigor. Again, there's no mention of temperature or activity or body mass. So peak rigor, we know, takes about 12 hours. So we'd have our PMI estimate of about 12 hours in that case. For number three, body was found exhibiting rigor in the chest, arms, face, and neck. So again, we know that rigor starts in our face and then kind of works its way down, neck, chest, arms, before last in the thighs, the largest muscles of the body. So that means rigor has started, but we're not at peak rigor. We're not at 12 hours yet. So I might say somewhere like, again, ballpark it. Let's just maybe say 6 to 8 hours for that PMI. Again, we're somewhere in the middle there. We're not quite to peak yet, but we haven't started relaxing. So maybe 6 to 10, but anyway, it should be less than 12. Number 4. A body was discovered with rigor present in the legs, but no rigor in the upper torso. So again, remember, rigor mortis starts in the head and upper torso, and then about 12 hours, it reaches the legs. That would be peak rigor. And then we start relaxing in that same order. The relaxing starts in the head and works its way down. So in number 4, no rigor in the upper torso tells us we're on the downside of this, that we're in the second part of our rigor mortis process. We know it takes about 36 hours for all rigor to disappear. So if it's just in the legs, we're past peak rigor, we're past 15, we're on our way down. So we might say somewhere like 24 to 30 hours. Obviously way more than 15, but not quite to 36. So maybe 20 to 30. Again, we're not told anything about temperature or temperature or activity or body size. We're just given the general description of rigor. So anywhere from 20 to 30. If you had any number in that range or an estimate similar, that would be fine. Number 5. A body was discovered with most of the muscles relaxed except for the face. Okay, let's think about this. That tells us kind of rigor mortis has just started. Remember, the face is where we're going to have the smallest muscles of the body. So if rigor mortis has just started, we're probably talking about that PMI estimate of maybe 2 to 4 hours as we go through this. And then number 6, body was discovered in the weight room of a gym. A man had been doing arm curls with heavy weights. The only place rigor was present was in his arms. This is kind of a tough one. What I might say for this is, again, let's kind of think about the process, think about activity. So as we kind of take a look at this, we're told that activity is going to speed it up. So because he was actively doing arm curls, that anaerobic exercise, it means rigor mortis is going to happen much, much faster there. But there's not rigor anywhere else, so it's not to his face yet. So we know his face normally takes about 2 to 4 hours to show up. So this is actually going to just be less than 2 hours. Because again, he was actively doing arm curls, so a lot of anaerobic activity. It drives the oxygen out of those muscles, meaning rigor mortis happens much quicker at those muscles where activity was occurring. And then because there's no rigor in his face, we know we're not quite to that 2 to 4 hour mark yet. So I would probably estimate somewhere like 2 to 4 hours. All right. For the rest of this, try 7 to 13, see how you can do. And then obviously turn in your work and you'll get a chance to check it tomorrow or the day after. And please don't hesitate to email with any questions you have.